All right, going live. We have hit the button. We are live. What's up, everybody? Hi. I haven't done this in like a year and a half, so we're just gonna we're gonna go through the usual checklist for making sure that this stream is actually working whatsoever. Let's see. Let me know if you guys can hear everything, see everything properly. Hi, Flow Finder. Divi. Hi. How does it have 11 thumbs up already? It has 11 thumbs up already because there was like a reminder that I put out yesterday, and so that technically you can kind of click into that as if it were just like a posted video, and then people could just hit the like button already, kind of thing. So, hey Travis, Explorster. All right, everything's looking good. Nice. Yeah, sweet. I know this is kind of weird timing, like Friday. It's 2 o'clock where I am. That's definitely weird timing for a live stream, but I felt like coming on. It's kind of like weird timing for like video release right now. We're in the middle of like trying to edit this super complicated video. We went on an RV trip out to Kamloops, Squamish, and then Kelowna, and so we have like in the first video I have to somehow like combine like 5 days of riding, all the travel stuff with the RV, and a stopover at the Darko headquarters in Squamish, which they're just opening up tomorrow, I think, actually. So we got a little sneak peek. Anyways, all of that stuff has to happen in one video, and I'm just not even close. So I think it's been like a month since we put out a video, which is awful. So I wanted to come on here, have a chat. Oh, we got someone, hello from Kenya. Hey, sweet, what is that? Sweets on Mission? I probably said that wrong, but hey, all the way from Kenya, that's awesome. What time is it in Kenya right now? Definitely very different from here. Sweet. Yeah, so I'm currently working on that. It's a real big job. There's this company in Canada, it's called Canadream RV, and they like rent RVs. So if you like come to Canada and you want to do the RV thing, well, you go around to like different bike parks or whatever, you can get one from them. And they've never actually worked with mountain bikers before, and they've also never tried to market to Canadians before. They've always like marketed to like people around the world for when they come to Canada and they get an RV, that kind of thing. But obviously with, you know, the whole pandemic thing going on, they've had to like change course a little bit, and so they're like, oh, we should work with Canadians, and hey, mountain biking seems like something that people do. So anyways, they brought us on to like do this sort of like sponsored video thing, and it was good. We got to like show them what mountain bikers actually want out of an RV situation, like with a bike rack and storage and all that kind of stuff. So it was really good to help them along and make it so that it'd be like a really awesome situation for mountain bikers. So that's what I've been up to the last couple of weeks. So yeah, let's see, we got some more comments in here. Are you building up an Ibis? I'm going to talk about that Ibis. I can do some things to build it up on the stream probably, but I'm not building up the entire Ibis in this video. So yeah, there's lots of weird stuff going on with that bike, and I'm not even sure how it's going to all come together at this point. But we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, let's see. How are the trails in Canmore? Are they oh, hey David, are they rideable yet? Asking for a friend, of course. Right. I mean, there are some stuff that's rideable. My main loop, which is sort of the horseshoe trails, if you stay either high up or low down, it's definitely rideable. If you're anywhere in the middle, it's soup. So I definitely don't remember. I don't recommend doing any of the middle trails, that's for sure. But anyways, Griffin MTV. I have an Ibis XC. I have seen one in person. I've never ridden one before. It was so light, like I couldn't believe how light of a bike that was. And apparently it can shred pretty hard too. I definitely want to try that. All right, another local trail question. How long before Razor's Edge is ready? Razor's Edge is, I want it to be ready earlier, but it's always ready like early June. Early June is the earliest you can get up onto Razor's Edge, which really sucks. To do like the entire like full trail. Like you can go hike up the steepest part, which is what I did for that Insta360 video. But as far as like actually getting in there and riding the entire loop, early June. It sucks, but that's the way it is. All right, we're getting some people in here. That's great. Lighting and camera looks so good. Oh, thanks, Workhorse MTB. I've got Little, well, not little, it's pretty chunky. Canon C70 on there with a 24 mil 1.4, and I think I've got it at 1.4. Yep, 1.4. A little nice depth of field going on. I really like this lens. It's, yeah, it's a Sigma 24 mil 1.4. It's way cheaper than the Canon version, and I actually like it better. So I always like it when that happens. Let's see, from Maine, nice. The Maine line, I like the name. I have never really ridden on the East Coast before. No, I just haven't, straight up. I suppose the most East Coast that I've ridden was Bentonville, but I know that you probably wouldn't consider that. That's as east as I've gone for riding anyways. I want to get out to like eastern's half of Canada, out in Montreal and that kind of stuff. And so that I just saw that there was a flight deal for $115 to fly from here, like Calgary, Canmore, over to Montreal. And Canada is enormous, and so flights are really expensive from here to there normally, so I might have to take them up on that. Nice. Dan Kraft, did I miss an announcement yet? No, we just got started. I'm just like, you know, chatting. People are coming on into the chat. We're just hanging out. It's Friday. This isn't beer in there, by the way. This is like, it's one of those sparkly waters, which normally I hate, but this one's pretty good. And I usually hate those sort of like fake flavored sparkly waters because you put it up to your nose and if it's like an orange one, it smells like Orange Crush. And you're like, oh, this is great. And then you drink it and it's water. It just is such a letdown every single sip you take. But this one's like some like cranberries, something or other. I don't know. It smells like it tastes, basically, so there's no surprises. So I don't mind that one. Oh, we got somebody from Hungary, Ride Your Trail. That's awesome. Colorado. Very cool. Yeah, so I kind of went over a little bit of like what's the holdup on putting out videos on the channel. We just have like, we had a bunch of travel and the next video is like super complicated and so I've not done it yet. So I wanted to just do a live stream and basically I wanted to run by a bunch of ideas past all of you fine folks and talk about some of the stuff that's going to be happening this year. Yeah, and just get your take on it because we've got really big plans. Oh, and also I'm also here right now because and doing this live stream partially because I would normally like I want to be out riding. It's a really nice day out today, but I also have to be in the house and I have to be careful because Casey's probably watching this. But my son Casey, less than 48 hours ago, broke his clavicle, his collarbone, snapped it real good, and he wasn't even mountain biking actually, and so that sucks. And then Beth is gone to Vancouver. She had planned this like friend trip for like years, and they finally made it happen. So Beth is gone. Casey just destroyed himself, and so I am staying inside the house until further notice, basically. It's another reason why we're all here doing a live stream. Let's see. Okay. I have a checklist here to try and keep myself on track. Hey, so for all like the semi-local people, this is probably like the last actual local-ish thing that I'll talk about. But for people that are anywhere around the Canmore, Calgary, Alberta, Eastern BC area, we are setting up a big bike and gear sale at Canmore Brew Company here in Canmore. We're basically going to set up like a bunch of tables and we're going to take all the parts and complete bikes and all the stuff that we have to sell, including GoPros and like cameras and like just everything that we have over the last, from running this channel for like 5-6 years now. And we're going to put it all on tables, sell it for good prices, and we're giving 20% of everything that we sell, all like 20% of what we bring in to CAMBA, which is our local trail organization, to try and build some really rad trails in the area. So that's going to be on May 15th here in Canmore. That's a Sunday. I think we're starting it at 3 p.m. So you can come out here, get some riding in, and then show up at Canmore Brew Co., have a beer, buy some rad stuff, come say hi, and yeah, it should be a good time. So that's those are my announcements for this fine Friday. Let's see. Bryden Smith just broke. Ooh, you just broke your collarbone. That's a bummer. Yeah, at least for the most part, they heal pretty quickly. Like I've never broken mine, but I've separated both of them before. And yeah, that took, I mean, it seems like it's kind of like 4 to 6 weeks. That seems to be a pretty standard heal up kind of range. That's what the doctor said for Casey too. So hopefully he'll be good to go, like full send by mid-June. That would be sweet. Oh, hey, Okay, so this is one of the ideas that we've come up with for the channel, and it changes. It doesn't change the entire direction of the channel, although I feel like we've never really had a direction for this channel. Really, we just kind of do fun stuff that we want to do. But I want to add a different type of content to the channel, and I wanted to do it in the best possible way. So what I would like to start doing more of is product comparison reviews. And I want them to be as transparent as possible and as unbiased as possible. And to me, that means not accepting that gear from the manufacturers. And so even if they say no strings attached, just take it and review it. Like I have never, and I will never say something that isn't true on the channel, but there's still that sort of like built-in bias, or at least perceived bias from the audience, where it's like, obviously I would like to keep working with this company who has sent me this gear, right? So I suppose this person isn't going to, if they're reviewing it, they're not just going to like totally trash it, right? So anyways, I wanted to figure out a way to work around that. And at the same time, I wanted to be able to do something different with our Patreon group. We've had a core group of Patreon supporters ever since the very, very beginning of this channel. And they've allowed us to do most of the bigger things on this channel, including take it full time, which has been amazing. So, but now we have a fair amount of sponsors and all of that. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was to change the direction on what Patreon allowed this channel to do, basically unlock new things. So what we're going to be doing from here on out with Patreon specifically is we are going to take our Patreon budget. So all the people that support us on Patreon, we have a certain amount that comes in every month, and we are going to put that entire budget and only put it towards buying products for review through regular retail channels, just paying straight up money for it. We're not asking for a discount from anybody. We're not asking for the parts or whatever it is from any company. So then that way it is totally unbiased. There's no reason for me to watch what I say or whatever. And yeah, we can put out just the most straightforward reviews possible. And then the cool thing is, what I'd like to do is that, you know, let's say brakes, for example. I want to do a head-to-head comparison for to find out which is the best mineral oil brake between like the TRPs, or between, say, like Shimano XTR, or between the new SRAM mineral oil brakes. Buy them all outright, go test them all, and then when I'm done testing, I'm just going to give all of those sets of brakes to our Patreon supporters as a thank you. And so we're using the Patreon funds to buy the product, and then we're just giving the products away to Patreon as soon as we're done reviewing them. What do you think about that? Is that something that can work? Is that sustainable? How do you feel about doing something like that as far as the transparency side of it? Let me know, because I don't know. I think it works. I think it'd be cool, and I would very much love to give all that stuff back to our Patreon supporters. But let me know. Let's see. Oh, Kyle just broke his clavicle too. It's definitely a springtime thing for sure. Everyone's back on the bikes. The trails are usually greasy. I went down pretty decently hard. It's pretty hard to see on that. Yeah, it looks like nothing on here. I slipped halfway down a rock slab. I just tried to like control my braking just a little bit. The slab was dry, so I thought I'd be fine, but my tires were not dry, and it was just whoop, right down. I got a nice big shiner on my hip and on my arm, so yeah, tis the season for sure. Hey from Seattle, hey Matthew. Ethan says, that would be awesome. It's super hard to get real reviews. Yeah, and like I always wonder about these things, and I am not, by the way, with what I'm about to say, I'm not like really saying anything about anybody, but I think about these things, like even with you know, a company like Pink Bike, for example, they get sent this stuff for review, they review it, they put out the review, and that's that. But at the same time, like one, they're being sent out stuff, and they want to keep these, it's, you know, it's not like they want to burn a bridge with SRAM or something like that. And again, I'm not saying they color their reviews at all one way or the other, but these are just thoughts in my head. And then also, it's a platform where those companies buy advertising, and it's very expensive to buy advertising on Pink Bike too. It's quite wild how much it is to just like get a banner ad for like 48 hours on Pink Bike. You would be pretty shocked. So anyway, so you've got that whole dynamic to it, right? The review site is also selling ad space to those same companies, and oftentimes you see a favorable review come out, and it's done at the same time as a big splashy ad campaign too. So I'm not saying anything's going on, and I trust their reviewers, the Mikes and the rest, but I'd love to do it in an even better way. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see what people are saying here. Love it. I'm guessing you do a draw for who gets the gear. Mountain Bike Matt. Yeah, and it is tricky too. Like with Patreon, Patreon has very specific rules where it's like, I wouldn't want to do this either, but like you're not allowed to be like, hey, go support me on Patreon and you'll have a chance to win this gear. So it can't be like someone signs up for our Patreon and then everyone who signed up for Patreon is just automatically entered to win, you know, a set of XTR brakes or whatever I was just reviewing last. It can't work that way. So how it does work is people are signing up on Patreon because they want to see unbiased reviews and they want to help support the channel and keep it going and doing stuff like that. And then we'll have like a separate app, and we put it out when the gear is ready to be given away. We put out a contest through a separate app. And so the people from our Patreon subscribers who want to enter that competition, they can go and enter. And then people through that separate competition wins the prize. So it's not technically through Patreon, but it is for our patrons. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let's see. Daily MTB rider. Oh, Josh, it's been a long time, man. Important question. Where does one buy such high quality flannels as the ones you own? Well, let me start by moving my mic around and probably having it really loud for you all. This flannel sucks. It's thin. I don't like how the collar looks, but it was just sitting in the corner in my office and I needed somewhere to connect the mic to. So there's that. And the flannel that I've worn in basically, well, yeah, in essentially every actual Loam Ranger YouTube video for the last nearly 6 years has been one flannel. It's been the same one. And I bought it specifically for our first video that we ever made on the channel. I don't even remember where I got it from. It was probably like from like the Bay, Hudson's Bay Company or something like that. I don't even know. But when I buy clothes, I shouldn't say when I buy clothes. I never buy clothes. I hate buying clothes. Everything that I buy, if I'm gonna buy it, I probably am gonna wear it for like literally 10 plus years. No joke. Let's see. Steve, he says, it's fair not to be worried about current sponsorships, but could you do this without worrying about future opportunities? No, I don't think so. Like, if the company, whatever company that is, like let's say if I'll just keep going back to the brake example. It's one that's been on my mind. If I find that I can't stand one of those 3 brakes, like maybe it's the new SRAM brakes with mineral oil that they've just come out with, if I just hate it, I'm just gonna say that, but I'm not just gonna say, this sucks, I hate it. There's gonna be good reasons behind it. And from everyone who we've worked with in the past, as far as like previous sponsors, they all wanna know that stuff too, right? And I've never been shy about like telling people how I feel about whatever gear it is. And so if the company is on the right, how do I say this? The company should be cool with like constructive criticism. And again, I mean, you guys know I'm not one to be like, this sucks, I'm never using it again, I hated this. Like, I would never do that. There's always gonna be like good, well thought out reasoning behind whatever I say, so yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and you know what, like the other thing is like, we have the sponsors that we have now, and we love our sponsors, and we've handpicked every single one of them, literally. And if one day we don't have that sponsor anymore, that's okay too. And realistically, we'll just start testing those products, buying 3 or 4 brands of the same type of product of whatever that was, and then putting out a review on it. It'll probably be like, let's say if there's 3 products, I'll probably do 3 reviews, 3 separate reviews, and then one big compilation review. Because personally, I like to see both when I'm out looking at products. I kind of got really into like espresso in the last few weeks, and I've just like dove hard into all like the coffee YouTubers, and that's what I've liked to see. I start with the comparison review. It kind of gives me a good overview, and then I'll dig into the separate reviews after that. So I'd like to do that with products that I know about. And I'm a pretty picky person, and I feel like I'm okay at pinpointing why something is good or why something is bad. At least I think so. We'll find out, right? Let's see. Kyle says, do you think an Apple Watch is worth it? Can it track trail forks? Well, nothing is worth it if it doesn't fit what you specifically do. The Apple Watch has lots of pros and cons to it. I don't love the overall design. I don't like the rounded square thing personally. But yeah, I can track, like I just go into Strava and then I just hit go and then I go on my bike ride and then it just auto syncs up with whatever. It'll sync up with, well, Strava obviously, or trail forks, whatever it is. So it does an okay job. I've noticed the GPS be a little bit all over the place sometimes. Like it'll show that I went way further than somebody else, but I'll look on the overall map and it looks normal. But then if you zoom way in, you can see that it was actually like doing this. So it was like I was going back and forth the entire ride, which is why it actually shows like 5 more miles or 7 or 8 kilometers more than the other person I was riding with. So that hasn't been great, but it doesn't happen every single time either. Let's see. Somebody asked, Gucci Gang, sweet. Can you film a YouTube video in Edmonton? Yeah, I've filmed lots of YouTube videos in Edmonton. I don't know if you know this, but like that's where the channel started. We just moved out here like 2 years ago, and the channel started in 2016 really. And so yeah, there's a lot of like Loam Ranger videos that are based out of Edmonton. So you can go check those out at any time. You just got to go back to like 2017, 2018, 2019. Let's see. Oh yeah, and actually, yeah, so here's the first comparison review that I actually want to do. I want to do Archer components with a GX derailleur. And Archer components, they make a wireless shifting solution. So it's like wireless remote, which looks really nice. And it's supposed to be quite light and built well, whatever. And then they've got like a little box at the back. And that, after that point, it goes analog again. And it actually still pulls a derailleur cable that adjusts your derailleur or moves your derailleur around. And you can use it with any derailleur out there ever made. You can make it work for absolutely any derailleur, which is really, really cool. Because I've noticed like there's sometimes, I've used like the TRP derailleur, and I've found that I cannot personally, there's one bike mechanic that got this, but like I cannot personally get that thing dialed in properly. You can either dial it in for the larger set of cogs or the smaller side of the cogs, but you can't get both to work properly ever. I just cannot do it. But, if you had something like the Archer components thing, you can dial in to any derailleur and any cassette. So all of a sudden, that derailleur should work beautifully because I could really fine tune it to where I want it to be, as an example. So I want to compare the Archer to GX Eagle Axis because they're a similar price point. I'm going to use a GX derailleur with the Archer side of things, and obviously the Axis, GX Axis, that is a derailleur and a shifter. So I think that's going to be the very first comparison review, and then I'm going to give both of those systems away to our Patreon followers for them to enjoy after that. And if I really liked one of the systems, I'm just going to use my own money and buy it. That's the idea. I also want to do eyewear. I have 3 very similar pieces of eyewear. One's from Smith, one's from Oakley, and one's from 100%. And I'll probably get like maybe 1 or 2 more for the comparison review. And again, give those away to our Patreon peoples. Cycling computers potentially. Shoes, I don't think I can give those away. Maybe if I don't use them too much, but I'd have to use them a bunch in order to review it. So we'll see. But shoes anyways. Yeah. So there's lots that we could do. Let's see. Not to skip ahead, this is from Steve. Not to skip ahead, but I'm also thinking about a Cascade link on my Ripmo. Will you use yours solely for long shocking, or are you going to give an impression of the link with the stock shock length? I am doing weird stuff to this bike, and if you can see, he's talking about this metal link. Let's see if it'll focus. I'll go back over here, and then it'll focus over here. You can see there's like this machined aluminum yoke, I guess is what it's called right there, and that is from a company called Cascade Components. And when you combine that with this upper link for the Ritmo, you get some more progression. And on the carbon Ritmo, so the Ritmo V2, you don't get more travel, you just get more progression. So that's why people buy that. For me, I'm doing something totally different. I'm long shocking the bike. You are not supposed to do this. Do not do this. It will void your warranty real hard. But I'm gonna give it a shot. I've talked to Ibis about it, and they said, I mean, you're always doing weird stuff to our bike, so why stop now? But just like let everybody know, don't do this if they don't want to avoid their warranty. So this is a much longer shock than what normally goes on the bike. And obviously, if you put a longer shock onto that bike with stock everything else, this yoke is going to press into the seat tube because it's just like extending it out that way too hard. And so what most people have done is they've put in some offset bushings. And so they put in the, focus, don't focus on my face. They'll put an offset bushing here, and it'll just kind of like tuck in the shock a little bit more to have that clearance so it's not bumping into the seat tube. But I'm waiting for the final numbers from Cascade on this because I kind of measured, but I want to know for sure. This yoke is shorter than the stock yoke, and it also provides more clearance around the seat tube. So I'm thinking that I won't have to do an offset bushing. I'll just use that yoke, and it'll give me the clearance that I want around the seat tube, and it will bring my bottom bracket height back to where I want it to be. And if everything goes well, I may as well just say it. I'm just gonna like spill the beans on lots of different videos this year. I am going to create a 168 millimeter travel Ibis Ritmo that still sits at the perfect sag point, so you don't have to worry about weird pedaling or anything, with a 170 mil front, 63.5 degree head tube angle. Yeah, it's gonna be an absolute monster, but if I do it right, it should still pedal the exact same. So that's what I'm working on currently. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty wild. And I did some like custom graphics on it from Bike Shield Protection. So if you'll notice, again, it's kind of hard to see. I'll just get out of the way. Just do this. Whoop. So if you'll notice, there's some silver on here because most of the parts that I'm getting are gonna be silver as well. So you can see all the parts that are usually like a dark blue are like a metallic silver on it. So it should be a pretty cool bike, I hope. Yeah, so I'm not using the link. I'm only using the yoke. And I don't have plans to use the link right now. I might try it, but I think that would just be potentially too much progression. I don't know, we'll see. Let's see. Who's Ryan? I'm Ryan. Ryan is, somebody says, Ryan is the guy who hosts this channel. Yes, correct, that's right. Ryan is the guy talking right now. Yeah, that's true. Right now. Not right now, but right now. Yes. Let's see. Just going through some comments. I missed a bunch. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Steve, about using the yoke versus the link, or both of them. I have no plans on that. I have another V2 completely built up with stock everything. And I've been riding that since early 2020. And so I feel like I have a really, really good feel for how that bike rides. And we're sticking with the same suspension component manufacturer. And you know, mostly everything else is staying the same. And so I feel like I'm hopefully going to be able to feel this difference pretty quickly, and I can kind of vocalize that on camera when we're doing that video, but we'll see. Clipless or, well, they say clipless or clip-ons, but clipless or flat pedals, I'm assuming you're asking. I ride flats. I've gone back and forth over the years many, many times, but I've stuck with flats since running this channel, just because I find myself in lots of situations that are that I have no business being in. And so it's nice for me to be able to eject when I have to. And plus, like I use those Pedaling Innovations flat pedals. They're like really long. And when I was using regular size pedals, my feet would bounce off a lot. And I know that was partially because of my own bad technique at the time. But with the longer pedals, one, I don't get shin cramps when I'm doing like longer downhill runs or foot cramps. And there's just a lot more support on your foot because the pedal is just so much larger. And I think just because it is longer, it doesn't bounce off, your foot doesn't bounce off the pedals nearly as much as with regular size pedals. It's almost like it catches itself, like it starts to come off, but because it's so long, you know, one part's probably touching one part of your foot and it kind of snaps the rest back up to your shoe again. And so it doesn't fall off. Anyways, I've really loved them. I started using them in 2018 and I've never stopped. Yeah. Ba, ba, ba. Gravel bike content, you know, I would love to. We have something planned. MRP has that gravel fork, and I wanted to build up a gravel bike and do some mountain biking, do some gravel riding, do some road riding, do some mountain biking, and just see how it all works together. Because like, just going from like the angles, and now you got the fork on their suspension fork, and all these things, like, I'll be honest, it looks like it's gonna ride just like my old Cannondale F700 from the 90s. Like, I just feel like gravel bikes are just the new XC bikes, which means you should be able to ride them pretty hard, so I'm just gonna try doing that. But getting brakes and drivetrain, good luck. I've been trying to, we were actually supposed to film one last April, and I still don't have parts for the gravel bike. Still, yeah. MTB Scotland says, have to say thanks for the tutorial for editing you made a couple years back. Thanks for that, appreciate it. That's one thing that I would like to do more of this year. I put out it's like tutorial content. I put out a cornering video last year, and I don't know if you'd notice or not, but that video, that how to corner video, was literally the very first how-to video as far as like mountain bike skills. It's the very first how-to video I've ever put out where I was the one showing people what to do or like sharing my perspective on how to do something. I've never done that before because I've always been super, super careful about what I personally teach people because I don't want to steer people wrong. And so, you know, when it comes to like GoPro stuff, I feel like I've got that on lock. And so I'm confident enough in that I'm like, yep, if you want it to look like my stuff, do these things off and running. And but I never felt confident enough, even though I may have been able to do the thing that the person was showing me, like drops or whatever, I've always had somebody more qualified than me showing me how to do something and then having you folks watch that so we can learn together. But yeah, with the cornering video, that's something that I just kept popping up in my head, and I kind of had that cornering breakthrough, and I'm like, this isn't really on the internet. Like I haven't found anything that explains it in that certain way. So I decided to make that video, and I put everything I had into that one, and it's doing really good. And so that's felt great to like put it out there, and it's doing well, and people are, you know, writing in the comments how it's really like changed how they ride bikes. So pumped about that. And I think I'm going to do 2 more this year. And those 2 things, they're real tricky. And again, I'm coming from it from a place of like, it's not to like show people every single possible piece of the technique to do something perfectly. It's more like, what is the one thing that I could show somebody that could move the needle the most? So somebody who is struggling, I'm going to do a video on jumping, for example. And I am not the best jumper in the world, but over the last couple of years, I've gotten way better than I used to be. And so I feel like having that, like the changes that I made really fresh in my head, and this one specific thing, again, the same thing like that happened with the cornering video, it's one thing that I've noticed that the good jumpers do that I don't see it talked about online at all. And it's like this one very simple thing that can keep people from getting bucked or the opposite way, or yeah, it's like just giving people a lot more confidence and being able to hit any style of jump as it comes at you down the trail, which is the one thing that I never understood how people could figure that out. Like somebody could just go hit a jump trail and like, you know, oftentimes, unless you're on A-line or whatever, every single jump is pretty different. This one's really lippy. This one's like a long one. And I see these people going and hitting it, you know, it could be their first or second time, and they're nailing every single one of them. I'm like, how do you like in the moment, like split second, change your body angle, change how you're, you know, pressing the bike into the ground, all those things. How are you changing that differently for every single one and then doing all of them pretty much perfectly? And I've kind of figured that out very recently. So I'm going to make a video on that. So that should be pretty cool. So there's going to be a little bit more tutorial stuff coming up this year. GPC MTB. Can you see my comments? I saw that comment. I don't know if I've seen your earlier ones. Let's see. La1 says tubeless or tubes? Tubeless. 100% all day. Did you sell your Ripley AF? I did sell my Ripley AF, yeah. Are you and your wife still using the Fast Flex bars? That's a great question. Beth, yes, she's still using the Fast Flex bar. Me, no, but I would like to be. Everything I said in the initial review video, when I put out that video on the Fast Flex bars, they have like a pivot point to them with like elastomers. Sounds very 1990s, but they're legit. They really do help take out the chatter in your hands, and it saves your hands and arms and shoulders. That's all great. I'm not using one right now because the one I had snapped. Also keep in mind that Beth is still using hers, so it's not like it's like a defective product that snapped and we're like, whoa, 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 we're never using these again. That's not the case. And I say that because I think a big part of it was user error, my bad. And so I've got another one sitting in the garage, but what I've realized is that how I like to set up my handlebars doesn't jive super well with Fast Flex bars and how they operate. And that's just because I like to have a lot of upward, what is that? Upward, help me out in the comments. Like, you know, the bars, you've got the bars sort of like straight like this, but I like a little bit more sort of like forward roll. I like a lot of forward roll on my handlebars. And so that's how I had mine set up. And I also had a 12-degree back sweep. So imagine if the bar, I have no handlebars around here. I should probably just go and get it. But anyways, so like I said, those handlebars have a pivot point on each side. They move up and down like that on a pivot. And the way, in their instructions, they were like, don't roll this bar too far forward or else you'll put way too much stress on the inside part of that joint, the pivot point. And that makes sense, right? It's meant to go like this. But if I roll it forward, now I'm like pressing in a way that it doesn't want to move. And I had it like that all season, rode it all year, loved it all year. And then I was out riding, not filming or anything in Revelstoke. And I went off of a shark fin jump and landed. And one of the pivot points released on me. That point where it has all that stress on it, and it snapped. And so that sucks. Luckily the bar, the rest of it held on, so I didn't like lose half the bar or anything, but super scary, and I had to stop immediately and walk my bike down the rest of the way. But so I think it was my fault. And I'm sending the bar back to Fast Flex so they can have a look at it. But yeah, Beth is still using hers. We are both still fully comfortable with her using Fast Flex bars. And for me, I just like too much forward roll. So I don't think it works, unfortunately. So now I'm using a PNW bar with a 10-degree back sweep. I really love 12, but I had to run a 50 mil stem on it, which I didn't really want to do. And so now I'm running a 10-degree back sweep with a 40 mil stem, and it seems to be pretty much perfect. And it's 31.8, it's not like the big 35, and it's aluminum. So I still get a fair amount of some damping through the bars, and I get a nice comfortable back sweep, and I can roll it forward as much as I want. So that's where we're at. Yeah, let's see. But yeah, I'm really liking the PNW bar so far. Oh yeah, AZMTB. Yes, bird spokes review, please. I'm thinking about getting a new wheel set and have thought about using those. And bird spokes is, hopefully this isn't being too loud for you guys. Bird spokes, they're the fabric spokes. And they're built out of the same kind of fabric that bulletproof vests are made out of. and they're really cool. And I was supposed to have a video out on those wheels already, and yet I still haven't ridden the wheels with bird spokes yet. There was a little bit of a bad measurement when it came to ordering the spokes, and so we tried to build them up. It didn't work. Now, just to be totally safe, I'm gonna send the hoops right to bird spokes so they can measure everything there. They're gonna lace it up, and then I'm going to do a back-to-back comparison between regular spokes and bird spokes. I'm expecting big things because they do make the wheel a lot lighter, and the big idea for me, because I love the Michelin tires that have the DH rubber, which is different from all the other rubber from all the other tires. It's a lot stickier and has like a much slower rebound to it, and I love it. And so I like to use Michelin DH tires. Unfortunately, Michelin DH tires, as you might expect, are super, super heavy. So if I'm able to run those tires, the tires that I want, and then use bird spokes to take literally a half pound. Is it a half pound or quarter pound? It must be I'm just gonna say a quarter pound because I don't wanna overdo this. Quarter pound of weight, rotational weight off of each wheel. Yes, please, that sounds great. So that's the idea with building up this wheel set, and now I'm gonna let everybody know if I think it's worth it, because they're not cheap. They're very far from cheap, actually. So we'll see how it goes. Oh, I see Casey. My son Casey's in the chat. Snow Slopes says, those spokes are sick. Yeah, they are. Hope you're doing okay up there, bud. For people who have joined, my son, it's not like he's like, you know, messaging from above. Well, I guess he is because he's on the next floor above me, but he broke his my son broke his collarbone, and so he's healing up upstairs right now. He just broke it like less than 48 hours ago, so he's still feeling it right now. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. What do I got on my list? Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Appreciate it. Hope your Friday's going well. Mine's going good so far. It's a nice day outside. I'm going to get out after this a little bit. A little like walk around the neighborhood. Maybe I'll even get Casey out. Probably not. But it's probably not ready for that. Let's see. Right. I was going to potentially build some of that bike. But what's more exciting to me, I'm going to talk about a crazy idea I have that I just pitched to Pink Bike, of all places. You know that website that I was just kind of like questioning? Anyways, Pink Bike. I just pitched an idea to them, and it's a bit of a crazy idea. I think it's going to work out, though. And I want to go and get some shots at Red Bull Rampage out in Utah in the desert in a way that nobody's ever seen before. That sounds cocky. But I'm going to be using a camera system that can manipulate its plane of focus. And so everybody always says photos and videos don't do Rampage any justice. And if you don't know what Rampage is, it's like a free ride competition in the desert. It's sort of like the Super Bowl for mountain bikers, essentially, next to like the world champs for downhill. And the size and scale of that place is immense. I've never been there myself, but that's what I always hear. You got to see it in person. Cameras and photo just makes everything look small and insignificant. And even though, like, I've only seen it on TV and it looks crazy. But what I want to do is I want to use this camera here. I'll show you. Oh, hold on. This big boy here. There you go. Let's see if I can like tap to focus on this thing. There we go. Yeah, so this is an enormous photo camera. This is called a Fuji Film GX680 Mark III. It shoots medium format film, 6x8 format. And so if you have ever looked into like a full frame DSLR, that's like this big, and this is like huge, huge, huge negative size on this thing. So that's part of it. But the biggest part, and the reason why I went with this ridiculous piece of kit, is for the fact that, here, let's lower this down a bit. Whoop. Right there. I'm gonna turn up the light a little bit too, so you guys can see it better. There we go. Okay. This is a camera. Now, if you'll see this enormous lens, here, let me give you a size comparison, just so you know. This is the camera that we normally shoot with on the channel. Let's see here. Like this camera is not having a great time. Let's try that. Okay, this is a normal photo camera that we use on the trail. It works great. And so this is the size that we're looking at. And so you can see the lens is the same size as this is bigger than this entire camera system. But what it does is it shifts and tilts and swings and all those things. That was awkward. So you can see it'll move up, it'll move down like that. Lock that into place. There's rise and fall, so we can make that go up and down, all that sort of stuff. And it can go like this, go like that. And so with all of these wonky lens movements, let's turn this back on, see what it does. With all these insane lens movements, what you can do is you can show perspective better. And this, with the lightest lens out of the system, which is not this one, the lightest lens out of the system, without this on there, it's already 10 pounds. And so with this thing all rigged up, it's like gonna be like 15, 16 pounds with the lens that I wanna use and all the stuff on it. So I'm gonna go out to the desert. I'm gonna try and use the technology baked into this camera to try and show people a different perspective of Rampage, to hopefully show them just how crazy it is. And I'm also gonna take some really cool portraits with it too, because you can do like insanely awesome portraits with this camera. So that's a bit of a big idea that I've got. We'll see. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try mounting it like a GoPro on my chest for sure. Nope, definitely not doing that. But look at that thing. It's so awesome. It's just so cool. And I love nerding out on this stuff so much. And I've shot so much film in my life, like professionally and personally. This is definitely not the scary part for me. Like I'll shoot medium format film all day long. It's really just about lugging this thing around Rampage. I'm gonna move the camera back up a little. So, and we've got a whole bunch of different lenses for it. I bought this kit from a guy in Edmonton, former like professional commercial photographer, and which, by the way, this camera has taken most of the advertising and commercial photos that you've ever seen from like early 90s to almost 2010. Pretty much all of it was shot with this camera. It's only meant to live in a studio, never really meant to go outside. So I'm probably gonna kill this camera taking it to Rampage, which is why I bought a kit that has a backup body. There's 6 lenses for this kit. This is a 50 millimeter. And if you're a photography person and you're used to like full frame lens equivalents, you know what a 50 millimeter should be. But because the negative size is so big, a 50 millimeter is an ultra wide on this camera. It's like, I don't even know what the equivalent is, but it's like really, really wide. And I've got all the way up to 180 mil. But I think I've got to get like a 300 mil or something like that so I can get a little bit closer. But anyways, that's my weird idea. And so I have already started practicing with this. I've sent out the pitch to Pinkbike. I'm just going to assume they're going to say yes. I already bought the camera. And then hopefully you'll be able to see me out at Rampage. And I'm going to make a whole behind the scenes video documenting the whole thing, out there getting the portraits and the action shots and stuff. So that will go out on the channel. And if Pinkbike says yes to my pitch, all the photos will be on Pinkbike. So that's that. What do you think? Yeah. Here's some more lenses. There's such weird lenses too. Like, let's see. It always wants to lock on my face. This one is this is a 65 millimeter lens. Take off the back, take off the front. And it connects on kind of like a large format camera. Like it just sort of like clips onto the front. There's no bayonet or anything like that. Yeah, pretty cool. Let's see. That thing is nuts. Correct. Yes, it is. I don't know what I'm doing. How much is a camera like that? It says PWMTB. It's pretty crazy. Like this camera system was at the pinnacle of professional studio photography. And so when it was new, it was just an obscene amount of money. But now, because it's such a cumbersome system and commercial photographers don't use them anymore, really, that was basically their entire market, was just high-end commercial photographers. And so now, you can pick up a camera kit, like one body, one lens, a back for it, and some other stuff for like under $1,000. So, but brand new, like a full system would be like 20 to 30,000 bucks. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is massive for sure. But that's part of the fun of it, right? That's part of the challenge. Let's see. Just going through some of the comments here. Oh yeah, PWMTB says Rampage is sick. Went last year and everything is way bigger than it looks like. Yeah. And especially like, you know, as somebody who creates mountain bike content and I'm so used to like rolling up to somebody, to something, like whether it's a jump or a slab and being like, whoa, like that is committing right there. Filming it and then it looking like a speed bump. I mean, I think we've all had that before. Yeah. So having that sort of like brain lens in my mind when I've watched Rampage, I can only imagine how it looks in person. So I'm really, really pumped to get down there for that, hopefully. I used to shoot with a Bronica ETRS. Yeah, that's a great camera. Solid camera. All right. Oh, and, all right, one more announcement. Jumping the gun on this one too, just like I've jumped the gun on so many things in this live stream. But I kind of knew I was going to do that anyways. We're looking at hiring somebody not just for Loam Ranger channel, but for our other channel, Run the Jewels. And Run the Jewels is like a tech review channel that my friend Degju and I run. And we're looking at hiring somebody to split their time between both channels to help with everything. So like help edit, help shoot, help plan. You know, when I go out to Rampage, for example, I'm going to need somebody to help me. And so this person will be going out to Rampage, for example. And so, yeah, it should be pretty sweet. And this person has to live here in the Canmore area because I do want them to be like really, really involved in the process. And then they can grow with the channel, like just kind of become part of the channel. So we're looking around. We're probably going to start reaching out to people this week. So that's super, super exciting and really scary. Beth and I are kind of at that point where it's like, we can keep doing what we're doing, but I also feel like if we were to do that, you can kind of see burnout in the future of trying to like film and edit so much for two different channels. We can keep doing what we're doing and trying to like hang on to the savings a little bit and then like maybe buy a place sometime in our lives. Right now we just rent and we have always rented. And so there's that, or we're like, okay, or we can hire somebody and kind of like put things towards this other person that could like make our lives a lot easier. And then hopefully we could put out more content, better content, and then that should equal good things on both good things on both channels. And then hopefully, yeah, we'll get to the same place we wanted to be anyways, but with a lot less stress. So that would be cool. So we're looking for a person. If you know anybody in the Bow Valley area, Banff, Canmore, Cochrane, that kind of thing, let us know. Hit me up. On Instagram is probably best. If you don't follow us on Instagram, I suggest you do that. I spend a lot more time on average on there, like putting out sort of like bits of stuff than I do, you know, with the actual YouTube releases. So we keep it pretty up to date on Instagram all the time. And then YouTube, it's been a little bit of a slower thing with actual video releases lately. Yeah, I mean in Canada, not Canmore, 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 because I think there's a Canmore in like, I don't know, Pacific Northwest United States, I think. People always get that confused, yeah. Because I say it fast, probably too. Yeah, hit me up on Instagram if you're interested in that. That's kind of like most of what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to get your folks' opinion on some of this stuff, because these are like big changes for the channel and some big ideas that we want to like go after. And whenever I have like an exciting idea, I kind of just jump on it pretty fast, and I have to like watch myself a little bit with that. And so I don't want to like stray so far outside of like what we have been doing, because I really enjoy what we do, but I can just get on tangents and just like go in this direction real hard for a while. And yeah, I just want to like keep running it by the folks that make this channel really run, which is you folks actually watching the content, which I really appreciate. We all really appreciate it here. Joey says, oh man, also please do a review of Onyx hubs. My concern is since the infinite engagement system, I believe it's a spray clutch, is what it's called, correct me if I'm wrong, how well do they wear? I have had 2 different Onyx hubs over the years, and mine slipped on me. And so in my experience, and I'm not saying it's everybody's experience because they're not supposed to do this, but I remember I was in Nanaimo, BC on the island, and I was going up a really steep climb on really grippy rock. So I had just endless grip despite it being really steep. So there's a ton of torque. And it's not like I'm pushing out huge watts here, but like a ton of torque into the system and into that hub. And I was just going up, and without any tire slippage, my cranks went, whoop. It was silent, and it was just like, whoop, like that. And I just about fell out, like there was some exposure, and I just about fell off. And it freaked me the hell out. Like, that was super scary. It was the worst feeling, like your crank's just giving out on you. It's like the chain snapped. That's how it felt for a split second. So the hub slipped, and it happened to me at least one more time, potentially 2 more times. This was a couple years ago now, and that happened on the newer Vesper, I think it's called. It's a lighter weight one. Never happened on the original one, so I'm not sure. But my experience with having a silent hub is amazing. I love it. Just like coasting through the forest and all you can hear is your tires on the dirt. That's really cool. When you're in the bike park, I love a good loud hub. It's amazing. And if you happen to be going faster than the person in front of you, they can hear you from a mile away. So my compromise for this is like I've gone with i9 hubs, Industry 9, and I have the Hydra hub. But I put extra grease into it to quieten it down. And you can get a Hydra hub to be really, really quiet. It's really, really light, like way lighter than an Onyx hub. It's lighter than a normal hub, but it's way lighter than an Onyx hub. Like a noticeable difference in like holding the wheel between those 2 hubs. And you know, basically the same, it's not endless engagement, but it's like what, like 690 points of engagement or something, like basically infinite engagement, essentially. And it's not super loud for me. So that's been a really nice in between. I get all the engagement I want, which is nice to have, but I don't know. I could go with less engagement. I don't really care. But almost silent, nice and light. It's been super strong. So that's what I'm running lately. So I guess that's my review of Onyx hubs, unfortunately. Let's see. Yeah, that's about it. I'll show you this sweet fork first, though. I just got this in from MRP. So you can like custom order colors now. And so I've got this sort of like slate gray color for the fork, which looks pretty cool. I guess it's sort of, this is the first time I've actually noticed this. I guess it's sort of like that Zeb kind of look with the RockShox thing, right? I never thought of that once before. But everything else on the bike is, all the accents are silver. So I went with a gray kind of thing, just kind of matchy-matchy. It's a 170 millimeter fork. So yeah, it's gonna be 170 front, basically 170 millimeters rear travel for a Ripmo. Again, don't do that. You'll void your warranty, but I'm gonna try it and let you know how it goes. Yeah, should be sick. Can't wait. Cannot wait. Yeah, so that's about it. I'm most excited about doing those unbiased reviews, using the Patreon budget towards that kind of stuff, and then just gifting that those products back to our Patreon supporters. So if you want to be part of that, you can go check out Patreon, and I think there's a link in the description below, as always. So that's really exciting. Rampage, that's going to be nuts. Fingers crossed, Pink Bike says yes to putting me on their photographer list, because that'll be the hardest part, is just getting into the event as a photographer, so I can be there during digging, practicing, and the finals. That's what I need, is just to get there. That's the big one. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for hanging out. It's been about an hour. Yeah, it's been an hour, like exactly. That was my plan too, was an hour. I didn't even look at the time until now. Not bad. It's good hanging out with you all. And we will see you. I'm hoping to get this super complicated edit done by end of this coming week. So like not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. Fingers crossed, hopefully. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I really, really appreciate all the questions and comments and everything. And we will see you, in a few days. And have a great weekend.